In our first story, JoyNews has intercepted minutes of board meetings chaired by Professor Joshua Alabi, in which decisions were taken not to go ahead with value for money and post-implementation audit into a housing project which cost the pensioner a whopping $150 million. The housing project was to be sited at Klagon on the Lashibi Ashaman Sakumono Road. Well, JoyNews' Ernest Mainu has been finding out more on the states of this facility, which we understand has since been difficult to sell.
Now, in June 2012, a groundbreaking ceremony was held here at Klagon for the construction of some 80,000 housing units. The plan was to build 2- and 3-bedroom apartments in 4 phases. Now, this was a partnership between SNIT, that is the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, and estate developers Regimanuel Gray Estate Limited. Now, SNIT decided to pump 150 million of your pension funds into this facility that was estimated at a cost of 250 million. Now, 5 years down the lane, the project has not been completed. And it's not just because of the poor nature of the road, but also because of the cost. Earlier, I posed as an individual who is interested in buying an apartment from there, and I got some information I'll share with you. It will cost you $270,000 for a 3-bedroom apartment. And for a 2-bedroom apartment at the Meridian Gardens, you'd have to pay some $190,000. The entire facility sits on an 8.5 acre of land. The apartment, according to the estate developers, has a fitted kitchen, air conditioners and built-in wardrobes, and also centralized LPG supply, water and electricity backup, gas and smoke detectors, high-speed internet over fiber optic cables, among others. The security will not allow us entry into the facility.
And we'll bring you a lot more on this subject when we do the discussions on AM Talk. But let's move on. President Nana Addo Dankwa Kufuor is dismissing calls for the abolition of the National Commission for Civic Education, the NCC, saying despite its flaws, the commission is an integral part of Ghana's democratic tenets and must be supported to grow. Proponents of the call to collapse the commission argue it has outlived its usefulness and must be replaced. But launching an inter-university quiz, President Kufuor charged the commission to erase public perception it exists as an appendage of a political party in power. He said whilst his government works to resource and improve conditions at the NCC, they should get them to demonstrate total loyalty to the state.
Since its establishment some 25 years ago, the NCC has done its part in helping Ghanaians recognize the importance of their freedoms and duties, even though it can still do much better in this regard. Despite concerns raised in some quarters about the effectiveness of the NCC in the discharge of its duties, with some going even so far as advocating its abolition, I am of a different opinion. I believe the NCC continues to be relevant and still has an important role to play in helping establish a culture of awareness in which citizens are alive to their civic responsibilities. It is for this reason that the budgetary allocation of the NCC has been increased by an appreciable level in this year's Asempa budget. This is an indication that this government is committed to resourcing the Commission to help it in achieving its mandate, and will continue to address the logistical and financial needs of the Commission. It is important for its credibility in fulfilling its mandate that the Commission sheds any lingering perception that it works as an appendage of any political party, of any particular political party. Its loyalties have to be to the Constitution of the Republic and the good people of Ghana, not any party.
The inter-university quiz, which forms part of activities to mark 25 years of the NCC, aims to test the constitutional knowledge of selected universities and polytechnics in the country. Chairperson of the Commission, Josephine Nkrumah, wants government to address concerns of the Commission.
Mr. President, in the face of continued severe logistical constraints, our dedicated staff across the 216 districts of this country and our head office continue to perform their duties diligently. If we envision a future of phenomenal transformation of our country, then active citizenship through civic education cannot be ignored any longer. On this premise, I urge government to provide the Commission with the crucial logistics we require to deliver effectively on our mandate. While NCC continues to execute its mandate, we must begin to teach our positive Ghanaian values as part of our national orientation.
A Kufuor Circuit Court has sentenced 26 foreigners arrested for engaging in illegal mining in the Yetiwa Forest of the Eastern region. The foreigners, mainly Nigerians and Malians, were found guilty of conspiracy to mine without a license, and this is contrary to law. They were ordered to pay a fine each of 600,000 Ghana cedis, or in default, serve a 5-year jail term. Francis Waja now reports.
Hausa and French interpreters provided for some of the accused told the court the accused were not mining but were on a hunting expedition. Some of them claimed they were in the forest praying, although the forestry department found sophisticated mining equipment at the site of their arrest. Counsel for accused persons Dola Mensah pleaded the sentence be reduced because they have already spent 8 months in custody after they were arrested January 26, 2017. Deputy State Prosecutor Cyril Boateng, however, asked the court to impose the maximum sentence for the offense to set an example that illegal mining blamed for massive environmental degradation will no longer be tolerated. He said the whole country is awaited a verdict that will impose stiff punishment on the culprits. There are about 400 soldiers and police officers combing mining zones to flush out illegal miners after several warnings to them to stop the practice went unheeded. Her Worship Mercy Adai-Kote rejected the pleas of the accused and convicted them. 3 other Ghanaians also standing trial for the same offense were also sentenced to pay a fine each of 2,500 Ghana cedis. In default, they are to spend 3 years in jail.
And while the Ghana Manganese Company has entered into a $10 million agreement with government for the rehabilitation of the Western Rail Line. We also know that this agreement forms part of the company's agenda of increasing the export base of manganese in Ghana by 300,000 tons in 2017. And this is through a special rehabilitation program. Here's Charles Aite's report.
One of the major challenges facing Ghana's railway sector is the prevailing state of deployable rails in the country, which continues to affect the production levels of manufacturing companies. It is against this backdrop that leading customer with the Ghana Railway Authority, Ghana Manganese, has entered to a $10 million agreement with government to ensure the rehabilitation of the Western Railway line. Alleged Sheikh Hotel's joy business of his company's resolve to boost the export of manganese by 300,000 tons at the end of the year.
At the moment, we export by railway only 20% of our shipments and 80% by road. So when we rehabilitate the road, hopefully we will be able to double export by railway.
Meanwhile, Sector Minister for Railway Development, Joe Gatti, adds the rehabilitation process will see government constitute a special board to ensure that the country gets value for money during the construction.
We government have also committed that we are also rehabilitated. We will match the funds. We also bring in funds. And then we've set up a rehabilitation committee chaired by the ministry 3 representatives from them. The government has 3 representatives. 1 from Ghana Railway Development Authority, 1 from Ghana Railway Company Limited, and 1 for the ministry. And that committee will sit down and oversee the rehabilitation, work together to oversee the rehabilitation.
The rehabilitation of the Western Railway line is expected to be completed in 7 months' time.
In other news, a team from the European Union is visiting Ghana to audit the country's compliance with product regulations to establish whether a ban on the export of some Ghanaian agricultural produce could be lifted. The EU in 2015 sanctioned Ghana over some vegetables exported to the European Union, which also did not meet the market standards after they were found to have gone bad by the time they arrived. Ghana had in 2014 already been slapped with a 3-month ban after the EU intercepted some vegetables containing harmful organisms. At a meeting with some farmer groups at the Flagstaff House, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Owusu-Efiri-Akoto, blamed the Plant Protection and Regulation Unit at the ministry for failing to do its work.
At a meeting with some farmer groups at the Flagstaff House, Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Owusu-Efiri-Akoto, blamed the Plant Protection and Regulation Unit at the ministry for failing to do its work.
In the last 2 years, the EU market, which is a major vegetable market, has banned 4 of our products from entering that market because what I call the biological policeman, which is the Plant Protection and Regulation Organization of my ministry, has not done its work properly. And as I speak to you, the EU is sending another delegation to come next month, in the next 2 weeks, to audit what we have done so far, to enable them to take a decision to lift the ban.
President Kufuor is, however, unhappy concerns of farmers were not addressed during the previous NDC administration. He's calling for greater collaboration with farmer unions to ensure improvement in the sector.
I, like you, believe 100% that the Asian model is a model for our country. And that is the export-led, agriculture-based, export-led industrialization model. And in order for that to succeed, what they did there, what we have to replicate here, is this constant interface between those of us making policy and those of you actually in the field. If that continues to be fertile and there is that cross-fertilization between the policymakers and the operators, I think we are almost bound to succeed in whatever it is that we want to do. It's obvious that the objectives of your association are the objectives of Ghana. They're cardinal, they're key, and they have everything to do with how we can transform agriculture and transform the economy of our country. And I welcome very warmly the offer of partnership with government to make sure that the programs that government has put out succeed.
The farmers, however, had a tall list of demands for attention. Chairman of the National Farmers and Fishers Award Winners Association, Davis Nakobo, wants government to address the issue of purchase of tractors to farmers.
Most of the tractors under the government subsidy program fail to reach the farmers due to the policy of outright payments. This opens the door for high-placed non-farmers to acquire the tractors at the expense of actual farmers and food production. Hitherto, farmers were required to pay for the tractors by installments. We will be grateful if this ineffective policy of outright payment will be revisited.
A community where farming is done is Dufia, and the Dufia of Chito Awudome, Togbi Gobo Dake, is worried the Awudome traditional area is headed for doom due to an upsurge in the use of hard drugs by the youth in his community. According to him, cannabis and cocaine are becoming increasingly popular, and that urgent steps would have to be taken to stem the tide. Togbe Gobodaka made this known at the coronation ceremony of a senior divisional chief of the Awudome traditional area, Togbe Ajasi Jagan, at Anyanawase in the whole West District of the Volta region. We bring a report by Fred Kwame Sari.
The Dufia of Chito Awudome, Togbe Gobodaka says all hands must be on deck.
The youth are our future, but if care is not taken, the future of our Awudome would be jeopardized. The use of cannabis and cocaine is becoming rampant in Awudome. We don't have to be ashamed of it. Traditional authorities must collaborate with the police to find ways and means to outwit this canker.
Speaking after his coronation, the newly installed Senior Divisional Chief, Togbi Ajesi Jaga, also promised to use his influence to push for development in the area.
We cannot achieve anything without peace and unity. Therefore, there is an urgent need to foster total unity among Awudome people, and more importantly, with our neighbors. This we can do through honest reconciliation in order to build strong bond of friendship, which exists previously among Awudome states, and present one front as one people with a common destiny and a common enemy, poverty, instead of long and ending litigation and meaningless killings of innocent people. Let us forgive one another. Let bygones be bygones.
And before we go, this will make you laugh. Well, his works make you laugh. He's known as a screen lawyer. On the screen, he's known as lawyer Intikaya Bombay Azaya for making people laugh on the sensational series Kejetia versus Makola. And we've been finding out who he really is. Well, he's a student from the School of Performing Arts, an actor now, and currently busily looking for a rich girl to settle down with. Just think about it. And we decided to check his interaction with Gifty and Wapia on the polls, the last episode.
We all have our roles in this life and our purposes. And so mine is to bring laughter to the world, to make people laugh and bring joy to people. And that is what I do. And so when I'm doing it, I do it with everything in me, with all the passion I can gather. I was in the School of Performing Arts.
Okay.
And so I started from there. I started acting from there in 2007 to 2011, and so it's been like that since. And so 2014, I went to Kumasi and I met Louise, and we spoke. I saw his vision. I knew that he was a man of vision. He knew where he was going. Right. He knew the impact he wanted to use acting to make in the world. And I bought into it, and so we...
So you came together and then you started doing it?
Yes. Like everything else, when you're doing something, people are applauding and people are appreciating what you're doing. It makes you feel good and it makes you feel great. It makes you feel that you're actually doing something for people.
You don't have a girlfriend?
No.
Why not?
Well, you know, I'm still searching. I'm actually looking for somebody to marry. Dadabi, car, you know, body, oh God, yeah. When we were deciding for this character, we felt that it should be somebody who is different from the typical Ghana lawyer, the Makola lawyers. I see. And so we needed something a bit more. So colorful costumes, shirts, and then the gloves, which, you know, adds something. So the moment you see him, you are thinking that, who is this? Which lawyer wears gloves? You know, is he a doctor? Which kind of lawyer is that?
Well, very interesting. Check out the Kejetia series on YouTube. And talking about YouTube, we also have a channel there because the Kejetia versus Makola series is always on the Joy Prime channel. Well, just in case you want to get interactive also, please make sure that you touch base with us. We're streaming on our page on Facebook, JoyNews on TV. Would want to hear from you. But we have to take a break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the newspapers. We have a couple of them in the studio. And then we'll also look at what the stories are as posted by our own, myjoyonline.com and other notable news portals.